All right, good morning. So back in 1918, Ivy Lee was a productivity consultant interviewing this man, Charles Schwab, who at the time was the president of Bethlehem Steel Corporation. During this interview, Lee highlighted his services to Schwab and told him that with his services, Schwab would be able to manage his company better and be more productive. Schwab replied, "I'm managing as well as I know how to. What we need is not more knowledge, but more doing. Not knowledge, but action. If you can give us something to pep us up to do the things we know we ought to do, I'll gladly listen and pay any reasonable amount." Lee said fine and told Schwab in 20 minutes he could give him something that would increase his action and productivity by at least 50%. He was interested, so Lee told Schwab to get a blank piece of paper and write down the most important tasks that he thought he ought to do tomorrow. Schwab took 3 minutes to write this down. Lee then asked Schwab to number them in order of importance. This took Schwab about 5 minutes to do. Lee then told Schwab to keep the note in his top pocket in the morning and look at that note and start working on the first task. Lee told Schwab to work on it until it was finished before tackling the second and do the same for task 3, task 4, task 5. Lee told Schwab to do this every day, and once he's convinced of the value of the system, give it to his staff, tell them to try it, and when he sees the value, send Lee a check for whatever he thinks his advice is worth. The entire interview lasted between Lee and Schwab around 20 to 30 minutes. A few weeks later, Schwab sent Lee a check for $25,000, approximately worth $500,000 today. Shortly after joining U.S. Steel, Schwab made a speech one day at a glittering banquet in New York, attended by thousands of the top industrialists in the United States. In it, he traced the histories of various organizations in the steel industry. He referred to many little anecdotes from his time at Bethlehem Steel. And one of the stories he told is of his visit from Ivy Lee. He said, "Gentlemen, I believe one of the major contributing factors as to why Bethlehem Steel became the biggest independent steelmaker was the use of his numbered priority system." Many men in that room hearing Schwab at that point knew that he couldn't be right. They knew that the real reason Bethlehem Steel had become the largest independent steelmaker was because they figured out ways of making better quality steel at higher quantities at a lower price. Mr. Schwab, who was very sensitive to the atmosphere in the room, picked up on the mental rejection by the men. He said, "Gentlemen, the reason why we found the time to research steel quality and the time that we had that our competitors didn't to evaluate how to make it at larger quantities and better quality was because of our numbered priority system. Every time one of our key people thought of an action they felt they could do or should do, they scheduled it. They put a priority on it. Then, as far as humanly possible, followed through with that priority." He said, "Gentlemen, this is why we became the largest independent steelmaker." Now, Ivy Lee is a world-renowned business consultant. Think of your list of technology projects in your business. Ivy Lee focused on the process of executing tasks, task 1, task 2, task 3, task 4. Ivy Lee helped Schwab gain clarity on the process of executing all that he needed to do. Today, I'm going to dive in and share with you the process of understanding which one should be number one. Technology is sometimes boring, sometimes complicated, sometimes nerd speak, and I was worried about this as I prepared. I want to be relevant, and I came up with a filtering system that I'm going to need your guys' help with to make sure that this presentation is relevant for you. So I'm going to ask you a few questions, and if you answer no to any of them, I need you to put your hand down and check out the snacks. So, for the few of you that your hands are still up, it means that we belong together, all right? So we are spirit animals, and we're gonna touch on some technology and business goal. So first question, I need everyone to raise their hand. All right, are you interested in making more money and or fulfilling your mission in a greater way? All right, check. Second, do you care about your customer experience with your organization? Check. And then finally, do you want to reach your potential as an organization? All right, all hands are up. This is relevant. Let's lock in. So you're probably wondering why this knucklehead is up here talking to you about technology and home remodeling. I want to share a little bit with you my experience at West Shore Home and how we've grown into being one of the top 10 remodeling companies in the country. I've led at West Shore for most of the last 7 years, growing our organization from about 15 million people and 50 employees to about approaching $1 billion in revenue with over 2,600 employees over the last 8 years. Now we have 36 locations with a national footprint. And while growing at this alarming rate, we've built world-class field management systems that allow our process to scale. On top of that, our perspiration to profit ratio continues to improve, so we're growing the right way. We're a technology leader in our space. I believe we're more efficient and have better data than anybody in our industry. I now lead a team of about 85 technology professionals around the country, ranging from Salesforce admins to custom mobile app developers to data cloud architects. We're working at changing the paradigm of how people improve their property, and technology is at the core of this. We've created this operating system by following the 3 steps that I'm going to share with you today. Warning, I have worked very hard to not make this a typical technology presentation where we talk about MIPS and megahertz. This next slide is the most technical slide we're going to touch on today. All right, so this is a sample stack of a business, and every stack is a little different. I've grouped the different technology systems, and this is not a cumulative list, just an example, into 3 main groups: company systems, department systems, and employee systems. Company systems are systems that span across your entire organization. So think Office 365, G Suite. Department systems. This is where you really differentiate the customer experience. This is your ERP, this is your field service management systems, this is your CRM, possibly your phone systems. And then employee, we have spreadsheets that we all love, right? And our to-do lists, our task management. Today, we are going to focus on department system projects, where I think a lot of you are here, right? You have a part of your business that you want to improve. So we're refining the scope. We're talking about technology in the department level. So think CRM, ERP, phone systems, CPQ tools, the systems that really benefit your business. These kind of projects are often high risk. You can make wrong turns, set your business back multiple years. You can lose good employees and good customers with poorly executed implementations. Stakes are high. On the contrary, these systems are the ones that allowed West Shore Home to grow from 15 to 100 million, 100 million to 500 million, 500 million, and so on. They can be your differentiator amongst your competition and enable you to be the envy of your industry. This is a high-risk, high-return world, these department systems. There are losers and winners. So we're going to have a few activities throughout this presentation over the next 45 minutes. If you are not seated by somebody, I ask that you get buddy up a little bit, because I think we're going to have some conversation. And in these activities, they're going to be brief, but the goal is that you apply these concepts that I'm talking about today into your business. So that's what we're going to do. All right, our first activity. So I'm going to give you guys a minute to talk about this and write this down. I want you guys to identify a technology project that you are considering, currently implementing, or recently implemented, and write it down. The clock is on. Now, I hope that you guys picked a meaningful project to your business. Okay, we're going to build on this project as the presentation goes on. And what I'm going to talk about is 3 steps to making this project make sense. Okay? I love the activity. It's good. So we're going to walk through 3 steps. And it's just 3 simple steps that when we're done at the end of our 45 minutes here, I believe you're going to be more confident in leading whatever this project is, whether it was recently done or coming in the future. How these 3 steps work is a linear process. You do not start step 2 before you start step 1. For your attention to detail folks in the room, you go to step 1, and then you go to step 2, and then you go to step 3. If you start on step 2, you are wrong. So this is a linear process. Step number 1 to gaining tech clarity: confirming your bottleneck. Definition of a bottleneck is a narrow section of a junction that impedes flow. This is the part of your business that dictates how fast your organization can go. This is the governor of your business. In other words, the whole business can only move at its slowest element. This bottleneck could occur at the beginning of the process, the middle, the end. It could be an outdated machine. It could be an incompetent worker, a stupid company-wide regulation, or a technology system. But whatever the bottleneck is, every action should be taken with it in mind, and every resource should be directed at eliminating it. Focus here. Focus at the bottleneck. The first step to tech clarity is focusing on your bottleneck as a business. Traditionally in home improvement, people think of lead gen as their bottleneck, even when it's not. I would challenge you to think about what is the real bottleneck, whether it be recruiting or your ability to fulfill jobs. We're going to walk through the effect of a bottleneck on a business. So here we have a sample business that probably looks a lot like yours. We have 3 sections. We have a marketing team, we have a sales team, and we have an operations team. And in this business, the number below each department, that's the department's throughput or capacity. And on each day, that department has an output. So on day 1, marketing generated 10 inquiries or 10 leads. On day 2, sales took those 10 inquiries that were built on day 1 and sold 5 jobs. And then on day 3, operations fulfilled 5 of those jobs, installed 5 of those jobs. And think of your output as your revenue. So after 4 days, this company had 10 units of output. I have a great idea. I'm the owner of this company, and I want to implement a technology system in operations. I expect that the outcome of this technology project is a 28% increase of operations throughput. You know, this is a great idea. We're going to be able to install at will, right? But when I implement this system in the operations team and I take their capacity from 7 units a day to 9 units a day, you will find that the overall throughput or the output of the organization did not change. How many times have you improved a business process that is not your governor? So at the end of it, you say, nothing really changed. I know we got better, but nothing really changed. That's why step 1 is to focus on your bottleneck. So now we are a more informed owner of said company. You've sat through this presentation, and we're going to implement the project at our bottleneck. Now what happens? Our input increased 40% as an overall organization. So we made the same incremental improvement. We tried to improve operations 2 units, and we didn't receive any benefit overall as a company. But now when we implement technology at our bottlenecks, our overall capacity as a company increases 40%. That is the effect of a bottleneck on your business. Generally, when you implement technology, it just doesn't affect one department, right? Some departments get better, some departments get worse. And this is a reality of most projects. So think of the same business working in a linear model. Here we have some areas of the business that improve and some areas of the business that get worse. The net gain of a technology project needs to be implemented and acknowledged. Very rarely does it only affect one unit. You may increase your ability to turn leads into appointments, but your sales closing rate may go down because of it. And you have to be real about that. So this is one of the most epic data visualization efforts in the history of man. Charles Joseph Menard's map of Napoleon's invasion of Russia is considered a classic example of data visualization. It's a graphical representation of the size and movement of Napoleon's Grande Armée as it marched towards Moscow in 1812 and then retreated back to France. The map, which was published in 1869, shows 6 key pieces of information. The size of the army is represented by a thick gold and black line that starts with 422,000 men at the beginning of the campaign and gradually decreases as the army travels deeper into Russia. The location of the army is on a map of Europe, so you understand spatially where people moved and how people moved, with the direction of the movement indicated by the thickness of the line. The temperature is represented by a line graph that runs parallel to the army's movement, showing the dramatic drop in temperature as the army approached Moscow. The dates are shown in a timeline along the bottom of the map with the location of major battles marked as well. The retreat of the army is a thinner black line that follows the same path of the initial invasion, but with a much steeper decline in the size of the army. Menard's map is often praised for its ability to convey a large amount of information in a simple and intuitive way. The size, direction of the army, the temperature, and the timeline all come together to create a compelling narrative of something that happened a long time ago. This map has been studied by data visualization experts for decades and continues to be a source of inspiration for modern data visualization techniques. I need you to reflect on if you're able to see your battlefield in your business, because if you can't, you're not able to identify your bottleneck. You don't have to be Charles Joseph Menard to understand if your business development team is on track or not. Start with green or red. Did you have a good day? Did you have a bad day? There's a saying that you can't manage what you can't measure. And I will add saying that you can't measure without data. And you can't collect data without standard operating procedures and technology. So the goal is to identify your bottleneck. Data needs to be a part of your focus. All right, activity number 2 with your new friend. Talk with them about whether your project is oriented towards your bottleneck or not. Alrighty, so now we are approaching step number 2, and these steps work in a linear way. We don't do step 2 until step 1, and we've confirmed that we're working on the bottleneck in our business. So we're focusing on a part of the business that governs our progress and governs our velocity. Now, just because you established a bottleneck does not mean you should start that technology project. This is the step where most businesses fail, and I think they fail because it's hard. Step number 2 is to ensure that your process is more capable than your technology. So you've identified that it is a meaningful part of your business to improve and to expand. Now we are going to ensure that our process is more capable than our technology. Most business owners are aware of their bottlenecks. They're frustrated by it, and they just want to implement an easy button solution. So why doesn't this work? It's because technology makes bad processes faster at being bad. If I don't understand how I want to prioritize my outbound calls, I will call more of the wrong people faster. If I've butchered my chart of accounts, my new ERP will automate the process of creating inaccurate financials. Technology makes things faster. The legendary football coach Lou Holtz from Notre Dame has a famous quote. He said, "I've coached good players, and I've coached some bad players, and I'm a better coach when I have good players." Software works the same way. Technology works the same way. I've built applications for good processes, and I've built applications for bad processes. I'm a better technology leader when I'm automating good processes. There are no magic bullets. When it comes to technology, most businesses believe that they need to buy a new plunger, when really they're just using the wrong end. So a big part of step number 2 of ensuring that your process capability is greater than your tech capability is leveraging the tool you have and understanding the tool that you have. Have you leveraged your existing tool to their fullest extent? How do you know if it's the tool, the process, or the people? At West Shore Home, when I came back, I had a brief hiatus of West Shore Home. When I came back, our contact management, our phone system, was the topic of conversation. We're in a bad place. Nobody understood how it worked. We didn't have a good support model. We didn't have people internally with the expertise and bandwidth to focus their time on it. We couldn't get the data that we needed to. We started with 2 simple work streams to work to understand this. First, we got our process on paper. The value of that is that everyone can understand it. And at least we have a standard in which we're operating from. So when expectations are not met, we understand why, and we can pivot. The second thing we did was evaluate new tools. And from the progress that we made of getting our process on paper, we were able to avoid the landmine of just saying a new tool is the route. Now we're able to work with our contact system, and we understand how it works. We have a team of internal experts, and we have standardized processes that we can automate. And we avoided a large landmine as we were growing. If I give you one nugget of advice from this presentation, please get this. Actually, does anybody sell software in here? If you could raise your hand. All right, so I'm gonna need you to earmuff here. Don't listen to sales reps. It's not the sales rep's fault. We asked when evaluating new tools, can it do this? And can it do that? What are they gonna say? Yes. I could wear a singlet and do gymnastics. You probably don't want me to. Software functionality is not binary. The how matters. So I challenge you to not listen to sales reps. Focus on the how. How do they do what they do? What is the process? Build it before you buy it. Don't just go off a salesperson's word. No offense. Another part of ensuring that your process capability is greater than your tech capability is illustrated in this diagram. Now, if people generally believe that West Shore Home's success came overnight, if I had to put it into an image, this is what it would look like. Lay of the land here. At the bottom, we have our current condition. That's where we're at. At the top of the stairs, we have our target condition. And on the way, we have plan, do, check, act cycles. We make a plan. We start doing that plan. We use data to evaluate are our bottlenecks changing. And then we act. We change the plan if it's dumb. And we keep doing that, and we keep doing that, and we keep doing that. And then eventually, we're where we want to be. There's an example of our warehouse management system at West Shore, to where we thought we needed a WMS system. And we had a current WMS system. We could manage our inventory. We had to. It's part of our financials. We took this strategy and avoided implementing a system before our processes were mature. And that saved us probably hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. So first, with our existing system, we said we have to have cycle counts above 98% accuracy. And then we implemented the tool to make it faster. So step number 2, ensure that your process capability is greater than your technology capability. You do that in 2 ways. You leverage your existing tools. You do not need a new plunger. Second, you implement PDCA cycles to improve the process before speeding it up. Step number 3, change management. Probably something that we all love in here. I hate the phrase change management. Change management insinuates all of the wrong things. It promotes being reactive rather than proactive. It paints a picture of change being this wild stallion that we're trying to break and tame. It creates an environment where we're like a victim of this change, even though we're the ones that choose to do it. Change leadership, on the other hand, means to me that change leadership comes before the change. It blazes the trail. Change leadership means that we are all in this together, your team and yourself as the leader. Change leadership means that I'm actually going to go to the trouble of making a good plan. So your jobs are not harder, and that's my goal, to make us better. How often do you have conversations in your business and you explain that we're doing something and not have the relationship with that team that you are in it with them, and we're gonna figure it out together? Good leaders make good plans. And one way to practice change leadership is to make a good plan. So how do we know we have a good plan when thinking about this technology? We've confirmed that it's a bottleneck. We've worked on our process to make sure we're not making a bad process faster. And now we're getting ready to lead that change and pull the trigger. So how do we know we have a good plan? First, it has to be simple. How concise is your message? And why are you doing this? Do you remember that net impact graphic where some places are green, some are red? That's what's going on in your head. You can't explain that as a technology leader. You have to have a concise message as to why you're implementing this technology and what the effect is going to be. Good plans are specific, kind of contrary to simple. I think the best way to describe a specific plan is how can you document and how can you communicate how your bottlenecks are changing. So identifying that this is the most important part, and this is how the new system will change your flow as an organization. Good plans are realistic. This is my favorite one. Timing. Double the amount of time it's going to take. Double the time it's going to take. Think about layered training. So you should not have a class in the morning before the reps run new appointments on the new CPQ system. That is not a good strategy. Be realistic in the training. And that means that they're probably not revenue generating during that time. So you gotta make a plan for that. Finally, plans have to be complete. Very often, I see teams moving data the first time when they're transitioning to production. That is not a good strategy. You need to move data before and move it multiple times because you will mess up and you will make a mistake. You need to have plans for if the project doesn't go right. So when is the no going back time? What is the recovery plan? Do you have it? These are great questions you can ask as a leader in your business. I believe change leaders need to be realistic in how a project is going to go. And generally what I've seen across the industry is they say, when this system is implemented, it's all gonna be rose fields and rainbows. It's just gonna work, right? Everything's gonna be better, but it's not true at all. So we have sort of 2 life cycles here. On the left, we have legacy systems. On the right, we have our new technology systems. And our legacy systems here, you can see get better and better. right? Over time, you start to understand it, you understand how the different widgets work, training becomes better, and you improve. But then you identify that you've reached your ceiling. When you reach that ceiling, generally there's a dip, right? People get very turned off about using said system once your processes become better than your tech capability. And you say, I need to change to a new technology system. Most of the time, when you change that go live day, your performance will not be as good as it once was. Things that were understood now are not understood. Paradigms will be broken. So you are taking a little leap of faith here into the new system. And most likely you will be performing, and you should plan for that. And then about maybe a day later, everyone's kind of in a good mood when you get new systems. And then like a day later, people start to see the stress, right? So the calls back up, the appointments aren't being set, the leads aren't being responded to, and everyone's just, like, you get pulled into the office and you say, should we go back? Not a fun time. It's happened. But the good news is you can get back in that continuous improvement lifecycle. And now if you chose the right platform, you have a lot higher ceiling to get there. Change leaders are real with how this system is going to implement, and that includes communicating that their job will most likely be harder after the system goes live until it is easier. Last part of change leadership that I'm going to focus on is the idea of having a simple plan. This drawing is from Pablo Picasso. It's called the drawing of the bulls. Apple uses it to train design principles. Drawing number one, we have first, Pablo Picasso is a bit odd. He numbers his bulls down. So we have the top left bull is 1, middle left, bull 2, the bottom left, bull 3. So that's how the numbers work. Drawing number 1, we have a clear, realistic image of a bull. When you have something complex to share, start with a clear idea of what your message is and who it's for. Drawings number 2 and 3, Picasso adds detail to the bull, collects lots of ideas into his message and puts them all down. He's creative, he's flexible. Editing comes later. Drawing number 4, Picasso starts to take away detail from the bull, and we start to see it form its shape. Likewise, prioritize your content, organize the key points, and bring structure to your message of why this change is meaningful. Drawings 5 through 8, Picasso progressively simplifies the bull, making it a smaller and more compact image. Edit your material. Remove the excess. Ask, can I still tell my story without this information? Finally, drawings 9 through 11, more lines and details are removed until Picasso captures the absolute essence of the creature in as concise an image as possible. Now, you remove everything from the content of your message until it is simple and memorable. Moral of the story is that you have a target, his earlier bulls. You really got to understand it. Drawing number 4, to where he breaks the bull into parts. And then you have to capture the absolute essence of why and the purpose by removing the noise that does not need to be heard. Good leaders have simple plans. All right, so we walk through the 3 steps. Work with your friend, 1 minute, talk through which of the 3 steps you could have improved if this project was completed in the past, or what action you're going to take to improve the odds of success in your project moving forward. Go ahead. So ladies and gentlemen, gaining tech clarity is more about being a strong business leader and less about MIPS and megahertz. The 3 steps that I walk through today will make you a better leader when facilitating any change in your organization, not just technology changes. The first step was to confirm your bottleneck under the premise that the business will only move at the speed of your slowest function. You do this by organizing your processes and collecting data on your business flows. You must evaluate how a project will influence your net gain as an organization, because it won't all be good. When you apply technology and process improvement to non-bottlenecks, you do not increase your organizational overall throughput. Step 2 is to ensure your process capability is greater than your tech capability. You do this by leveraging your existing tools to their fullest extent. You also do this by establishing your current conditioning, laying out where you want to go in your target condition, and implementing PDCA cycles to get there. Step 3 was to lead change and not manage change. We are not victims of the decisions that we make. If you hire a partner and execute a nightmare project, it is still your fault. You lead change by making good plans. Good plans are simple, specific, realistic, and complete. We should be real with our teams about the life cycle of a new technology system. New technology systems often go live at less functionality than your old system, but your teams will have a new ceiling that they can grow into. We practice change leadership by communicating a message that only captures the absolute essence of why you're doing this as an organization. We should strip away the noise, as Picasso did when he was drawing his bull. Follow these 3 steps, you'll be a better technology leader and approach technology with clarity. Thank you.